Identity theft is one of the scariest things out there. With just a credit card or social security number, somebody can take over your life and you may have to pay the consequences. Good morning and welcome to Maryland Today. With me this morning to discuss identity theft is one of my favorite guests, Deanna Booker, the manager of community outreach and communications at Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland in Delaware. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
So you're here to talk about identity theft today.
Yes.
October 20th through 27th is National Protect Your Identity Week, and it's an important week. I've had my identity stolen before. At least I should say I've had my credit card number stolen before. Why does all these financial things, they always happen to me?
I know.
I don't understand. But in celebration of that fact today, we're going to talk about how to identify, avoid, and manage personal identity theft. Before we do, can you please explain exactly what identity theft is and why it's so important?
Sure, and you're right, Jeff. It is very important. Identity theft occurs when someone uses your personal identifying information. So your name, your social security number, your credit card numbers, just like you were saying. They use that information without your permission, and they use it to commit fraud or to commit some other sort of crime. Identity theft can happen to anybody. It's so widespread. It's so rampant. The Federal Trade Commission just did a study or a count, really, estimating that as many as 9 million people in this country, 9 million people have their identity stolen every year. So it's huge. And every one of us, ourselves, our children, believe it or not, we're all at risk.
So how does identity theft really affect somebody's life if they've had their identity stolen?
Well, it really can be really serious. It can have a big impact because identity theft, being a victim of identity theft, can cost hundreds of dollars and require many, many hours of work to correct. On average, a study says, on average, victims spend more than $600 per incident.
Wow.
Yeah, per incident, getting things right when it comes to identity theft. So it can really add up to billions and billions of dollars a year. So it really can have a serious impact. So while you're going through the process of trying to get identity theft straightened out, your credit's being ruined and you might lose out on job opportunities. There are some folks who aren't going to hire you, given what your credit report looks like. You might be denied a loan. You might even be arrested, if somebody's used your identity to commit a crime. So it really can have a serious impact.
And as we've put more and more of our information online over these last 10 or 15 years or so, as the internet has become pretty much the go-to place to do everything from paying bills to shopping, we're putting all this info out there. What kind of information are these thieves looking for?
Identity thieves are looking for personal information that's going to allow them to use your accounts or use your identity to, like I said, commit crimes or open up accounts, that kind of thing. So they're using your name, like we said earlier, your birth date, your address. Social security number is a huge one. Your bank accounts, your credit card numbers, your loan numbers, mortgage accounts, your PINs, that we use to access our account, your driver's license number, all that kind of thing. Even ID numbers at where we work, our employer IDs. Identity thieves are using those. So it's huge. It's huge.
And how do these identity thieves use the information that they take from us?
All sorts of ways. And, we hear so many stories. But I think one of the most prevalent you're going to hear is that an identity thief has used our credit card or our debit card number to buy a big ticket item.
So that's what happened to me.
Oh, my goodness. They've used our card and they've run out and bought a TV or, bought a computer, that kind of thing, those big ticket items. Or they've used our name, our birthday, our social security number to open up a new credit card account that we're not even aware of. And then with that, if they don't pay the bills, that information is being reported on our credit reports, not theirs. It's going on our credit reports. They might change the mailing address on our credit card account. That way, we're not getting the bills. The bills aren't coming in, so we don't know that an identity thief is running up the charges, on our accounts. Or they use counterfeit checks or counterfeit debit cards to drain our bank accounts. A lot of times, identity thieves will get jobs or get driver's license or medical services in our name. So there's a variety of ways that they can use our information.
When I go online to pay a credit card bill or check my bank account balance, I always see things like secure connection when I'm logging in. I guess it's a way to make you feel safe while you're there.
Right.
Now, hey, I assume that I'm safe when I'm going into these places. So how does identity theft occur?
And you're right. You are safe when you're going to those sites and you see the little padlock and those connections are secured. But identity thieves are using many methods. It's not just online. They're using many methods to access our personal information. So they might be stealing your records while you're at work or your employment records from your job. They may bribe or con an employee who has access to that information, at the place where you work. They can still hack in. How much have we heard about hacking? They can hack into our computers and, online, use all sorts of online sources to get that information. So we are secure. You are secure when you go to those sites, but there are many, many ways that identity thieves are using to access our personal information.
Now, I've heard that identity thieves are often people that we know. Now, I know some shifty people, so this makes me a little worried. I mean, it's a scary thought. If it's true, how do they go about stealing our information? That's interesting that you asked that. There is a recent Javelin report done, and it said that 50%, so half, 50% of all identity theft cases that were reported, the theft was committed by a relative, a friend, a live-in employee, a neighbor, somebody that we know. 43% of the identity theft victims polled for a study knew their perpetrator. Wow. So it's folks that are close to us. So anyone who has access to our personal information ultimately, honestly, can steal it. That thief might just be able to come into your home. Maybe they're your friend. They've come into your home and they're just going to take some information out with them when they go. They might steal a wallet or a purse. Maybe that's got a social security number or a credit card or a debit card in it. Taking the mail, that our bank statements and that kind of thing that have our account numbers on them. Filling out, like we said earlier, that change of address form. So there's lots of ways. Rummaging through our trash. People that we let into our homes, that are familiar with our homes and our property, they might have the opportunity to go through our trash can and steal from us. So there's all kinds of ways. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the trash can, because one thing that I'm definitely guilty of, and I'm sure a lot of other people are, is just throwing this information out, not shredding it, and not really taking the precaution to make sure that nobody can go through the trash to see your information. Now, I hear CCCS is hosting a national Protect Your Identity Shred It event to help people learn more about identity theft. What can you tell us about this?
You're absolutely right, and I'm so excited for this event. It's going to be held on Saturday, October 20th from 11 to 2 at Towson University. It's free. It's open to the public. We're going to be in the Student Union parking lot, and it's going to be a wonderful event. The event is being co-sponsored by the good folks at WPOC and Jack FM. I just had to put that out there. We're so glad that you guys are our partners. Cintas, that's where the shredding truck is coming from. Towson University, they're also partnering with us. We're going to be there shredding, obviously. We're also going to be doing cell phone recycling. So it's just going to be a great event. So we're just encouraging everybody to come out. Bring out all of your old confidential documents, because you're right. You don't just want to throw this stuff away. If we have old bank statements, old tax returns, all of this kind of thing, maybe that we're just sort of hoarding in the house, we want to get rid of. So we're just encouraging people to come out, bring your old documents, bring your old mail. We can shred everything. It's going to be a great event.
Sounds like a wonderful event. Again, that's Saturday, October 20th between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. at Towson University. So, Deanna, we've talked a bit about what identity theft is and how it works. So now, why don't we talk a little bit about how to avoid becoming a victim? Shredding it is one way to go, shredding your documents. I did just read an article, though, that said identity theft can happen anywhere, even at home. What are some of the things that we can do to ensure that we aren't victimized by these people that we know?
Exactly. You're a candidate for identity theft at home if your personal stuff isn't kept in a secure place. So especially if you employ outside help, if you have, work done on your home where people are coming in, even if you have roommates, family members sometimes can even be at fault, like we said. So you just want to make sure you're safeguarding your home. Keep your bank records, all of your documents with your sensitive personal information. Keep them all in a locked room or in a locked box. Don't leave your purse, your wallet, your checkbook, all that kind of thing, your bills, your financial statements. Don't leave that kind of documentation out in plain view. As soon as you use them, put them back. Wherever they belong, return them to that locked place. And here's another thing. Only share your personal information with family members or friends who have a legitimate need to know. That kind of information is just not for public consumption,
Yeah, something that we've already touched upon here, too, is that personal mail is a huge source for identity thieves. They can go through your mail and get a lot of information there. How can this happen, really? I would like to think that these pieces of mail that we get don't have all the important things in there, but I guess they've got enough.
Yeah, they do. They have enough of that information included in them. And, you take that piece of mail, you're sending off a bill or something, and you put it in your mailbox, and what do? We lift that little red flag up, to let the mailman know that there's something in there we need them to take. Well, that lets every identity thief who might happen by, know that there's something in there. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to leave your mail, your any kind of, important correspondence in an unsecured mailbox for the mail carrier to pick up because, again, it's an invitation to thieves. So take that mail to a secure place. Take it to the post office. Yeah, it's a few more minutes, but, drop it by the post office, put it in the box. Here's another thing. Avoid, if you can, having the kids bring the mail in. You might say, oh, when the kids get off the bus, they run to the mailbox, but you're not certain. They're kids, so
Right.
Did they drop something? Maybe did they not get it all out of the box? So you just want to make sure that we're securing the mail as much as possible. Another just quick bit about that, pay attention to when your bills and your credit card statements are due, when they come in the mail. If they haven't come on time, if your bill always comes by the 15th and it's the 22nd and you haven't got it, that might be a trigger. You want to pay attention to that kind of thing when it comes to the mailbox.
So outside of the mailbox, the garbage can is another place that identity thieves often will look around. Now, hey, we all bring our garbage cans outside or we take the trash out ourselves, and it could be sitting there for a little while.
Right.
What types of measures do people need to take to protect their identities when it comes to their trash cans?
Exactly. We've heard that old adage, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that when you put the things out in the trash, because like you said, they are going to sit out on the curb, at least for a few hours, maybe at night. So make sure that you've cross-cut, you've confetti shred. I don't know if folks have heard that term, but when you shred it, you don't just cut it in half. You want to make sure you're chopping it up in little bits before you put old bills, old statements out for the garbage person to pick up. And if we can, keep our garbage cans in a protected area as much as we can. Now, like you said, we do have to sit them out. But when they don't have to be, keep them protected. You might not think that you have to safeguard your trash, but you do. You don't want to throw away junk mail before you've read it. You don't know what kind of information an organization might have included in something that they sent to you. So you have to be mindful, even of the trash.
Well, we've been talking about the more common ways and common places that identity thieves can take your identity, through junk mail, old bills, documents to throw away. What other things should we make sure we dispose of safely?
That's a great question because it's not just that paper. It's not just paper items. So here's something that a lot of folks don't think about. Prescription bottles. Think about how much information is on the label of a prescription bottle. So you want to make sure, again, that you're disposing of that kind of stuff properly. Old cell phones. We're going to be doing cell phone recycling at the Shred event, so I hope folks come out for that. But again, we get a new phone, we just toss that old one to the side. We don't think about how much of our personal information is contained in that phone. So you want to make sure you're disposing of that kind of information properly. Also, another thing, storage media, CDs, DVDs, hard drives, thumb drives, all that kind of thing. We get a new one, we toss the old one down. We don't think about how much information is contained in them. So that kind of thing. It's not just paper.
Okay, Deanna, we have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back to continue this great conversation about identity theft and ways to prevent it from happening to you. Stick around.